It's a new episode of Bazaar. I'm your host Sid, and this is my last segment on space stocks. Um, Today, I want to talk about one of the stocks that I have been following closely for the past few years, ever since 21 when the IPO came of this stock, and I thought, why not take a deep dive into the company. I'm talking about none other than Paris Defense. If you are an investor from the IPO days, you've had one wild ride because the stock popped up like 185% on its listing day, and in the next few days, like in the next few weeks, the stock delivered 7x returns. Like imagine turning 1 lakh into 8 lakh in 3 weeks. Like that's the stuff of dreams. Absolutely sensational, and definitely more like a lot of it was based on speculation that Paras Defense would just crush it in the drone industry and defense, and those keywords basically like defense, drone. These were the two trigger points that were driving up the stock. But after that, the stock got beaten down, and today, if you look at the chart, it's a steep curve upwards, and then the next 2 years it's a downward trend. But even from the IPO days, the stock is still up quite a bit. Like if you had gotten the allotment at the IPO price of 175, the stock is still delivered a 4x return. So not bad, I would say not bad at all. And I still believe that there's more room for growth because it has not really played out the theme completely. So let's talk about the company. So Paras Defense, as the name suggests, is in the business of making defense and space engineering products, defense electronics, space optics, which are used in space telescope. It also makes infrared lenses for night vision, military applications, components for missiles and rockets, and also through drones and through some automatic monitoring equipments, it has developed its own border defense system. So Paras Defense has a wide portfolio of products. I've done a detailed breakdown of the business in my blog in case you're interested to find out what the business is and what are the applications. I'm not going to explain everything in this podcast, but read that blog to get a better understanding of the business. And why am I excited about this stock, right? Why do I think that there's a lot of room for growth? Because there are a lot of positives for the company as well. So Paras Defense has an order book of 618 crore in INR, which is 3 times its FY23 revenues, 3x its revenues order book. So that gives you a lot of visibility into the future, and it has 30 plus government customers, renowned private clients like L&T, Godrej, Rafale Defense, the French company. And I believe this company, Paras, could be a key beneficiary from the growth in the defense sector. Right, the defense sector has been growing quite significantly, and you can see that in the stock prices of a lot of defense stocks like HAL, other stocks as well, Bharat Dynamics, Bharat Electronics. Paras Defense also is one of them, and I think it could be a big beneficiary of the growth in defense sector. Now, other things that are really working for it is that it is making some really niche products. So Paras became the only Indian private company to build an optronic periscope for a submarine, and it also won a contract to recently build glass cockpits, avionics suits, and autopilot functionality for the Saras MK2 program for the Indian Air Force. And it developed and delivered a hyperspectral camera for space missions, and is also collaborating with 2 non-ISRO missions. So it's not only just does not have just ISRO in its portfolio, other customers are there as well. And like I said, it has developed a high precision border defense system and expects a projected requirement of 4,000 units or more over the next 5 to 10 years. So there's a lot of demand for the products that it's building, and the company at the same time is also investing heavily in building its drone technology, which is poised to be a 1.7 trillion rupees market by 2030. So the drone market is growing really fast, and Paras wants to be a leading player in this space, right? And lastly, I think Paras is the only Indian player providing EMP protection solutions, which is a very niche category. Like it caters to banking, IT, security, defense. And if you want to understand what EMP is, if you remember in the movie The Matrix, the sentinels are coming towards the ship and Morpheus presses that EMP button, right? So there is some this electromagnetic pulse has a potential to disrupt electronics, right? And right now in India, no one is providing EMP protection solutions, and I think Paras, is targeting these categories and could, really benefit from it. So these are some positives around Paras defense. And if you've been following my episodes, you know that I track weaknesses of a business very closely. Like that's where I'm more interested, because once you've covered those weaknesses, then you can really think that, okay, yeah, I mean, look, there are these strengths overpower the weaknesses. So with Paras as well, there are a few things that you should be aware of. The company's 3-year revenue CAGR, the compounded annual growth rate, was only 14%, right? I mean, it's building a lot of products, it's investing in new technologies, but the reality is that the numbers are not, it's at least it's not delivering on the numbers, right? 3-year revenue CAGR of only 14%, operating margins have reduced year on year, and the return on equity also was just 9%. So low return ratios coupled with high working capital requirement would put a lot of pressure on the financials and cash flows, and it limits how much Paras can defend in new technologies. Like it really needs to ramp up on these revenue profitability numbers. So that's going to be one thing that I'll be watching. Second is that Paras wants to be a leader in drone manufacturing, but currently only 5% of the order book pertains to the drone business, right? So more orders need to flow in for the company to capitalize on this growing opportunity. Like 1.7 trillion rupees, that market's going to be like so big in the next 5 to 7 years, and right now Paras has only a very small portion of it in its order book, right? So more drone business needs to flow in for Paras, for numbers to start really making sense. And lastly, like I always say, the stock is trading at a PE of 82 times. So valuation is one of the most important things when it comes to investing, because the point at which you enter the stock determines how much money you're going to make, right? So a PE of 82 looks quite expensive. Net profit has grown 33% year on year, but when you talk about such a high PE, the revenue and profit growth have to be in the triple digits to justify this kind of valuation. So either the stock should drop, or the revenue and profit growth has to really go up for these kind of valuations to make sense. So that's a little bit about Paras. I could not go very deep into the stock because then this is not the forum for it. I've written a very detailed blog which you guys can really read and then leave your comments as well. So in conclusion, I think Paras Defense has a lot of potential, a very good order book, sticky government contracts. It's investing and building niche categories like drone manufacturing, EMP protection solutions. It wants to be like the number one player in India when it comes to anti-drone services, right? And it is innovating high precision defense and space products. Also, it's got a good revenue mix. It's not reliant on a single customer or a single sector, right? So the good things are there for Paras. It's got zero debt. It also has a high promoter holding, which shows that the owners are invested in the company for the long haul. So it would make sense to keep this company in your watch list and see how the next few quarters go. And if the stock drops or if the numbers start coming in, then when the opportunity arises, I think you can take a decision of what you want to do. But I think it has a lot of potential. The market cap is also not very high. Like it's at that stage where if it plays its cards right, there's a lot of potential in the next 5 to 7 years. So keep it in your watch list and let me know what you think. That brings us to the end of this podcast. As always, do your own research before you invest in any stock. I am not a registered investment advisor, but I will keep bringing opportunities in the market to your notice. Take care, and we'll catch you in the next episode.